Welcome to the Guelph Real Estate Report podcast with your host and Guelph Realtor, Ryan Waller. This podcast is designed to provide information for those buying and selling homes in the Guelph area to make the process more informative, fun, and a little less stressful. Now, on with the show.
Hey everyone, thanks very much for tuning in to the Guelph Real Estate Report podcast, episode number 9. My name is Ryan Waller and I work with my wife Beth in Guelph Real Estate. Thanks so much for tuning in, and it's nice to see that we're getting a bit of traction with this and that we are getting some interaction in terms of feedback and questions, and we're going to address those today as well as give you the real estate numbers from March 16th to 22nd and month to date. I started recording this podcast because there was some desire for people to be able to listen to updates like this while they're in their car or doing some work and not having to watch anything or read anything. And we already do those two other formats anyway, so this was a natural fit for a third. And as I mentioned, it's nice to see that people are interacting with it because that's really the intent, is to help people out, give information, and answer questions. Maybe it'll be a call-in show someday, who knows. One of the questions we had this week from a viewer, I think it was a listener, was about reporting on a percentage of the asking price. And so usually in these videos, when we talk about sales, we talk about how close to the asking price did the house sell. And the listener had a legitimate comment on that, in that they wanted to know, well, is the sale price you're reporting based on the original asking price? Or did they have to reduce it 5 or 6 times before they got to the price that they ended up selling it at? And to answer that question, yes, we report it on the last sale noted in our system. So let's give an example. Let's just say that we meet with a seller who has a house that is at about $1 million market value. As in, comparable homes in the area are selling at about $1 million. This seller decides that they have done some upgrades to the house that warrant a higher sale price. And they decide that they would like to list the house at $1.2 million and see if there's a buyer who would appreciate their upgrades. The house comes onto the market. We're on the market for 2 weeks, and in that time we have 5 showings. And the general feedback is, yes, the house is beautiful, but it's priced significantly higher than comparable homes in the area. So the seller takes that feedback and decides, okay, I'll listen to that feedback. I'm going to reduce it to $1.1 million from 1.2 and see what happens then. Well, the house is on the market another 2 weeks. We get 8 appointments this time, and the feedback still remains the same. You're still too high versus comparable properties. And in fact, in one case, we get an offer of $1 million, and the seller refuses it. Over time, the seller gets frustrated with the process and decides, fine, I'm going to list my house at $1,025,000. I can do slightly better than the market price of $1 million. And the seller eventually accepts an offer of $1 million on the nose. When the property is being reported as a sale, what was the asking price compared to the sale price? Was it the original $1.2 million? Was it the $1.1 million reduction? Or was it the $1,025,000 last recorded price that got the sale? I think you could argue this either way. Some people would say, well, it started at $1.2 million. That should be where it's based off of. Others would say the house would never sell at $1.2 million anyways, so you're skewing the numbers downwards artificially by having a number in there that actually didn't make sense from the get-go. I think, like most data that I look at, oftentimes there is no clear-cut answer, or there should be an asterisk, because not everything can be explained as easily. It's very similar to what we talk about with reporting an average price. An average price moving up or down 5% doesn't mean the market is moving up or down 5%. It means that the mix of housing that has sold has moved up or down 5 or 10%. Okay, so why don't we get into the numbers for last week, March 16th to 22nd in Guelph. What we are going to find is a little bit of an improving market in Guelph. And towards the end of the week, we noticed a real surge in calls, showings, and a little more activity happening. Last week, there were a total of 30 houses that sold. 18 of those were freehold homes, and 12 of them were condos. Of the 12 condos that sold last week, the prices range from $295,000 on Bagot Street up to $715,000 on Rogers Road. Of the 12 sales, 11 of them sold under the last reported list price, whereas one of them sold over. The one that sold over was at 302 College, likely to a parent or an investor related to the University of Guelph. That's my guess. We've spoken about this a lot, and one of the real hotspots in Guelph has continued to be the area around Stone Road Mall. We continue to field calls from parents looking to buy something for the child, and this segment has been hot. Looking at the detached segment, we have 18 sales here, with the low being $675 on Haddadi Road in the East End, right by Victor Davis, and the high being just over 1.9 million in Exhibition Park. Of the 18 recorded sales, 1/3 of them, or 6, sold over the last recorded asking price. This is a segment where we still talk about a hotspot being between 600 and 900,000. There are a lot of buyers, it seems, in this segment, and not as much new inventory to keep up with the demand. If we look at it from a total March perspective, as of the 22nd of March, we are at 88 total sales in Guelph, which puts us at 3.9 units per day. And although that number is rising, it is still far below, actually, previous March months. And this overhanging tariff discussion, unemployment, and some concerns generally about the economy are stopping people from buying houses. On the other side, we have sellers who are resistant to reducing prices, and it's causing this, I wouldn't say tension, but it's causing a gap in the market of coming together on negotiations because everybody's just too far apart. We anticipate that the overall inventory in Guelph is going to rise over the coming weeks as we get fully into a spring market into April and May. The big question is whether we see more buyers return to the market as well. And this has been obviously the big question for a little while now, and the answer has been most recently that buyers have not come to the market. And so as a result, prices have come down slightly. If you have any other questions on the Guelph real estate market, feel free to get in touch with us. You can find us on our website, bethandryan.ca, where you can book an appointment, get our phone number, send us an email. We're available and happy to answer any questions you might have on the local market. Have a great week.